All right, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a quick look at the Magic Factory F4U-1A/2 Corsair. This is the dual combo limited edition. This actually is a sample that came directly from Magic Factory themselves. I've had it for a while. Honestly, I've just had no time to crack the box open, so we're going to do that today. I have looked in here just because you can see it did take kind of a dent in transit, so I wanted to make sure everything was okay. I've also opened some of the bags just to make sure that everything was in one piece, and also to take a quick look at the parts so I knew what I was going to be talking about rather than completely and totally struggling through this. So 1/48 scale, looks like they partnered with Cartograph here. There is kit number 5001, little bit of information on this side of the box, and on the other side showing some more details, a little bit of information about Magic Factory. I suspect those are social media, QR codes, scan if you wish. And there is some photo etch included. Actually, it looks like two frets of photo etch, sheet of decals, and a mask set. And some little information about the kit showing what you get, including some details, the full engine, the cockpit, full gun bays, as well as the landing gear. And yeah, there's not a whole lot else on the box, so I'm gonna crack this open. Top opening box right now. And if we look in here, obviously I have opened some of the stuff just to take a look at it, and also a couple of buddies have been kind of flipping through this because they're more into this particular aircraft, let's say, than me, a jet modeler for the most part. So here's the instruction manual. It's a looks photocopied sort of booklet, portrait style. You get two of these pull-out style, like poster style paint callouts. They're full size. We'll look at those in a minute. You get a couple sheets of masks. These, very nice. They are pre-cut, actually. You get a couple of little frets of photo etch, that decal sheet, and then a box that is absolutely stuffed full of parts. So we'll take a look at this stuff first. I'm gonna get this off the table, and then we will look at this stuff later. We're not gonna look at every sprue, every part in excruciating detail, but I'm gonna call out some interesting things that I've seen on this kit, some interesting design features, a couple of small potential issues maybe, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, be right back. Okay, so we're back. Let's take a look at this paperwork, some little details, masks and such, before we get to all the plastic. This standard photocopy booklet, black and white, nothing really crazy to talk about here. You get a parts map, which will come in handy because this is a dual combo, so theoretically you can build two aircraft from this. Down below, we have a paint guide in AK, Mr. Color, and Tamiya, all the most exciting paint available. Choose which one you prefer. And then we're into the build. So looks like you're starting off with a cockpit, the seat mounting, various, so obviously pay attention here because you have two variants. You have the F4U-1A and the F4U-2. So depending on which variant you're going to build, you will see callouts in here depending on which version. So pay attention. There's obviously F4U-1A, you're doing this. F4U-2, you're doing that. So they are throughout each step, so make sure you're paying attention to that. Obviously, assembling the rest of the cockpit, the seat, the controls, and the instrument panel firewall going together there. Then doing some stuff on the interior of the fuselage, adding that looks like the tail hook, and then sandwiching everything together. And then some specific types of different canopies. I believe one is called a bubble top, and one is the bird cage. Yeah, you're seeing my unfamiliarity with these, but either way, they will call out which version, so pay attention. I will keep repeating that. Here, you do get a full engine. This does look very nice. Accuracy-wise, I can't comment. This is not a strong suit of mine, but you do get a full engine. Then you have, I think, a choice in the instructions. So here's how you do the unfolded wings, and then I believe if you go further back, there is the make folded wings. So you get two options, obviously. So we'll take a look at the unfolded wings just because you're first. So obviously you have a one-piece underside sort of plate, you have a spar, and then you have the various internals, the, I guess the wheel bays, the gun bays going in, the machine guns, fitting those in here, adding the ammo chutes, or the ammo belts, and then fitting the other wing, 2 top plates going in like that, and then some panels. You can choose to have these open or closed. Be good to see, I don't know, I obviously haven't built this yet, but if you're fitting these closed, it'll be kind of critical to make sure that they fit properly. If you're fitting them open, then no real issue there. There is a service bay for the guns, showing you how it sits open, adding in the control surfaces there, and then adding in more control surfaces, and then finally dropping the completed fuselage onto the wing assembly itself and the cowl flaps. I think this is probably standard to both aircraft. I don't think there's much variation, or at least I didn't see any callouts for it. So yeah, this is if you choose to make folded wings, and again, very similar assembly. You have a bottom plate and then you have a spar system. This is actually really nice. I would like to see more manufacturers do this, including a sort of pre-made folded spar to set the geometry right. So you're not trying to build this internal section, build the outer section, and there's some weak little hinge, little like finger teeth thing that hold this to that. And you're always unsure, is this correct? Is this gonna fall over when I move it around or something? This should be pretty stiff right here. So obviously adding some more stiffeners in here, more bracing, adding in that, and then moving on, you have obviously adding the top plates of the wings to each side, adding control surfaces right there, more control surfaces, outer control surfaces. If you have the wings folded, you are definitely going to be building the bays closed, I believe. So they're only calling out for one option there, no option to open them if you have the wings up. And then this is nice, as you can see, just slotting the wings onto this very beefy looking spar. So even if you wish to have these removable for transport to make sure you're not breaking them or causing unnecessary stress on these hinge points, it looks like you could probably do that. So yeah, there's that. Then moving on, more to do with the folded wing configuration. This is interesting here. They have you put these on and then drop the fuselage in. Honestly, I think it would be probably easier to drop the fuselage in and then leave these separate for painting, for whatever, or for transport, or just for ease of handling, actually. If you're trying to fit this in there and trying to not to hit those, I think that would probably be the way to do it. So that's a little weird. I don't know why they would have you do that. Obviously, test fit to make sure there's not something that prevents you from reversing those steps, but just something to be aware of there in that instruction step. And then adding, again, the cowl flaps, and then showing the geometry. I believe there's a couple of braces that go between the fuselage, so showing those in place. Then onto the landing gear legs. You have the wheels, adding in there. It looks like the back of the wheel is separate, but the front hub is molded to the front. So that's interesting, that's a little different. Adding the landing gear into the fuselage or into the bays. And then the gear bay doors, adding in the tail wheel and the associated doors with that, adding in the vertical tail, the horizontal stabilizers, control surfaces, the bomb rack, and then adding that to the bottom of the fuselage. And then, yeah, so there's that. Oh, and then here's another option. So if you want that's for exhaust pipe or exhaust. So should you want to fit those, or if those have to be fitted. This is the F4U-2 exhaust radar, and then obviously fitting the exhaust, same as the step above, but then fitting this external sort of radar dome thing. Honestly, I would probably fit this a little earlier in the build steps, just so you could fill around this and clean up any seams that you would need. So make a decision what you want to do early on in the build, and then stick to the instructions or go through the instructions and see which steps pertain to what you want to do. Make sure you have any associated holes opened up, or make sure you add these and clean up the seams before you have to paint or before it becomes harder to do. Adding the prop, 3 pieces onto a single hub, or is that already one piece and you're adding that? That's interesting, I don't know. But adding the prop, showing the use of the mask set. We'll take a look at that in a minute. And then these are obviously the 4 schemes that you get. So here's an F4U-1A. You get that scheme. We'll take a look at these. They have full color callouts here in a minute, so stand by. That's 1 scheme, 2 scheme, 3 scheme, and 4 scheme. So 2 F4U-1As and 2 F4U-2s. So yeah, and then that's the back. Nothing to talk about there. So next we'll take a look at the paint callouts, the masks, and the photo etch. So starting with the photo etch, obviously you get 2 fairly identical sheets right here. So you have obviously the belts right there, lap belts, the shoulder harness, and then a couple little braces, and then that's probably a mirror, rear view mirror. And then they are pretty much exactly the same. So copy of each other, you get 2 of them, don't lose them. They're in the bag with these masks, so just be careful. And then you get 2 sets of masks. We'll take a look at one set. This one happens to be open. This is actually, I noticed this earlier looking at it, these are pre-cut. So take note, Tamiya, mask set, if you include it, maybe just go the extra step of cutting them out so the modeler doesn't have to go in here and try to cut these out with a sharp blade. Just an extra little quality of life improvement. But you can see the edges there. They are pre-cut just on the inside of those black lines. So yeah, very nice addition there. You don't need to buy an additional mask set, assuming these fit well. So we'll put that aside, and then we'll look at the decals first, and we'll look at these last. So decals are on 1 sheet. They are printed by cartograph, so that should theoretically mean they are good. Stars and bars, obviously, nothing too interesting there. I think these are wing walkways, and then you have the printed instrument panels. Honestly, I think most people who build this, if you build it out of the box, these look all right. They're a little bland, but okay for out-of-the-box instruments. I think you can apply them over the instrument panel that's molded. So detail will show up like that. Use lots of setting solution, go slow, keep pressing it down with a stiff brush to get it into all the details, and that should be fine. But looking further down, the stencils are, for the most part, all readable. Even these small ones here, you have enclosure release, remove before firing, suitable for automatic, or suitable for aromatic fuels. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's there. You have lift here, oil filter, push, walkway, hand grip, and then this is obviously some of the squadron markings, the individual sort of details there. That kills scoreboard is going to be interesting. You're going to be applying the Japanese, the circles into the flags. That's interesting. I've never seen that before. Then everything else here, nothing particularly interesting to talk about with that decal sheet. So that's that. Then you get, which is actually really nice. I like these. These are full, I think these are full size actually. Full size, sort of almost like a poster style painting instructions for each aircraft. So we will start with, we'll just start with this one because it's on top. So this is obviously one scheme here that you get. We'll only take a look closely at one of these. They're all essentially the same. So obviously, I think this is full size. It looks like 48 scale. And then you get obviously the paint call out. You can see exactly where demarcations need to go, exactly where markings need to go. Full size based on like panel lines and such. That is excellent. I wish more kit manufacturers would include like a close to full size. I mean, if you have a giant aircraft, it's a little hard, but for these smaller aircraft, this is nice. This is a nice way of doing it. So obviously on the underside, you can see you have stencil placements. And again, color demarcations are very easy to see based on panel lines, rivet lines. There is some detail on the prop, the bomb, the fuel tank, and then the other side as well. And again, color callouts right there. And then on the back, here is another scheme. This is another F4U-1A, and then there's that scheme. We won't take a super close look at these If you wish to build the kit, please do your research. Here's the other one for another scheme. This is an F4U-2 with the radar right there. And then on the back, you have another one. This one's got the black radar cap. So yeah, that's that. So I'm gonna get this stuff out of the way real quick, and then we will be right back to take a look at some plastic. All right, and we're back to wrap this up. So this was a quick unboxing, just a little look around in the box of the Magic Factory dual combo Corsair kit. New kit from Magic Factory. They're kind of a new manufacturer from China. They've been putting out some very esoteric subjects. The first kit that came out, or the first sort of mainstream kit, was, I believe, the Iron Dome air defense system. That was a pretty cool release. And then they came out with this, and then they also do like a couple of little armor kits. Very interesting to see what's coming next from them. Stay tuned for updates on this channel, actually. But this kit, I will be completely honest, as a non-Corsair World War II Pacific expert, I look at this kit and I think it is very nicely done, nicely laid out, ton of options, open gun bays, nicely molded detail. I don't know how accurate all of it is, and I can't comment there. If you're into Corsairs, do your research or look at another review online. What I really do like about this kit is the fact that they include these wing spars, especially this folded option. Like, I would never consider doing a folded aircraft just because of how fiddly wing folds tend to be. But with this option here, if I'm going to do a test build of this, which I might consider doing this, because this is a cool option and it'll allow me to move the model around and easily sort of add the outer wings and take them off as needed, perhaps, and then kind of save me the headache of trying to line up a little hinge and making sure it all is glued tightly and making sure it doesn't fall apart. So that's nice. Also, this wing spar will help keep everything sort of locked in when you do build the wings out option. And then obviously what's kind of slightly disappointing, or well, slight bummer, is that if you do want to build both aircraft wings out, you may have to do a little bit of creative modification to some parts to get that to work, because you do only get one set of folded wings and one set of sort of like open wings. And then you only get one set of open wing spars and wing control surfaces and stuff like that. So something to do a little bit more research on. I'm not entirely sure if you can cut apart some of the stuff and make it work. But yeah, other than that, I'll be honest, I like all this molded detail. It is all very nice and sharp. It may be a little bit deep in some areas, but I suspect as you prime this, paint it, add washes, add decals, add weathering, add another clear finish over it, I suspect that this will tone down. How accurate all this is, I have no idea. But yeah, I'm going to be honest, it looks nice under the camera and in this situation. But if you're a Corsair expert, please feel free to comment below and say, hey, it looks terrible, or hey, that looks all right. I'm curious as well. And then obviously having the giant pull-out sort of instructions for the painting, as well as the mask set that is pre-cut, hint, hint, Tamiya, are all gonna help this build go along pretty smoothly. Again, this is not my normal wheelhouse of builds. I'm more of a jet modeler, but I am tempted to give this one a shot, especially with the wing fold and all of that included here. I will probably build the one with the radar. I think that looks kind of cool off on one wing. So stay tuned, check our Facebook page or our Instagram page for updates. If you have questions about this kit, I will do my best to answer them if you leave a comment below. If you have built this or if you're building it, please also leave a comment and let us know how it builds up. But yeah, other than that, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye. Okay, cool. There is a lot of plastic in this kit, and I had to kind of tear it all out of the bags and then organize it a little bit so we can go through this in a generally orderly fashion. So we'll go from A to essentially M sprues here. So starting with the A sprue, you do get two of them. So we'll take a look at one, get rid of one on the side. So A sprue is the engine, obviously. You do build the engine in sort of a stacked layer cake sort of fashion. So you will be obviously cutting out all these pieces, cleaning them up. That one looks particularly delicate, so be careful trimming that one out. But yeah, other than that, you get, I think this is the tail hook right there. You get the landing gear, the wheels. The wheels do have quite a large flat spot on the bottom. I do believe that is accurate. So that is nice. You do get two different kinds of treads. You get the sort of circumferential tread and also the diamond pattern, though the tread does not seem to go all the way around it. You can see a mold line right there, but you get a little bit of it on the side. I suspect most people who are going to build this kit, you'll get a resin replacement or a 3D printed replacement. So no worries there. I don't know what any of this stuff does. It looks a lot like the sort of bracing inside the wing, sort of the, I don't know what you call it, but the bracing inside the wing. And then you have some doors. This looks like the doors for the rear wheel. And then obviously the engine. The engine is molded. The cylinder detail does look quite nice. They are kind of in halves, sort of. I don't know how exactly you're going to clean up seams on that, but you'll sandwich, I guess, one to the other, then another to the other, and then the four of them go together or something like that. So yeah, that's sprue A. Nothing terribly interesting there. That's the rear side of the wheel. Some molded detail there, quite sharp. Yeah, so get that out of the way. That was sprue A. Next, we move to sprue B. Obviously, you get two of these as well, seeing as it's the fuselage pieces. So we'll take a look at one. That is one of the horizontal tails, I believe. Yes, it is in halves, so top and bottom halves. The outside has nice sharp riveting, very sharp panel lines and such as well. I don't know, being not an expert on this particular aircraft, how visible the riveting actually is, but what is provided here is very sharply done. It does not fade on the sort of the curves and the edges as it goes off the part. So that is nice to see. That's one of the fuselage halves. We'll take a look at the bottom one in a minute. This is the sort of the plate that goes in front of the windscreen. I think that's some kind of a fuel filler. You always see like gas leaking out of that, I think. But again, a little bit of raised detail on that, mostly recessed, very sharply done right there. This is the vertical tail. You get a little bit of, you get raised sort of stiffener, sort of bracing detail on this. It is very nicely molded. There's one of the comments I do have about this is there's no flash anywhere. It is very sharply done. Some of the, I guess, the round parts do have a little bit of a mold line running down. Well, if I find one, I'll let you see it. But this is the fuselage half. So again, very, very sharply molded recessed detail, rivets of different sizes. And then going all the way down, some raised sort of hinge detail on these little panels there. Again, I'm not commenting on accuracy here. I would be the wrong person to do that just because I don't know this aircraft, but just commenting on the actual quality of the mold and the plastic itself. So on the flip side, if you look inside one of these fuselage halves, you have a bunch of ejector pin marks. I wouldn't worry about those. You're not going to see them. This is essentially the only section you might see a little bit of. This is where the cockpit clips in. It's a small opening. You're never going to see all the way down into the bottom either. So just a lot of bracing in here to keep it all stiff. Some ejector pin marks in the rear. I don't know if you're going to see that through this tiny opening, but there is one there. Anyway, yeah. So that's sprue B. Let's move on to sprue C. Sprue C is the folded wing sprue. So you get the, obviously the bottom center section, the bottom outer sections, as well as the top sort of fuselage sections, and then the outer wing sections right there, as well as various control surfaces. Again, these are molded as top and bottom halves. Would have liked to really see them as one-piece molds. I mean, it just seems that if companies like Meng or such can do single-piece flaps and slats, that this should be something that this manufacturer can do as well. Just a comment there, saves you a little bit of cleanup, just unnecessary work almost. The top of the wings have the internal detail for the landing gear bays. Not sure if this ejector pin mark is going to be visible when you build it. It looks like it does go right under a spar, so you might be okay. Other than that, in the actual section, the main sections, there is no ejector pin marks, nice and cleanly molded. The bottom center section has various molded sort of vents down here. You get those. This is where the exhausts go. And yeah, the top of the other side, the other portion of the bottom wing has, I guess those are the landing lights, the chutes for the spent casings, as well as some raised and recessed detail. I'm not sure, someone can probably comment below how accurate this is, but just showing what comes in the kit. This is the other side. The flaps also have some raised stiffening detail as well as recessed detail. Everything is very sharp. This is, you can run your finger over it. You can hear that, but yeah. Right there, taking a look at the gun bays. These, obviously on this particular version, if you're building it wings folded, you will have to close these, hoping that the panels fit really nicely. Otherwise, that's going to require some filling and potential rescribing. The other interesting thing about this that I'm not seeing is if you choose to build both of these kits, if you, obviously because it's a dual combo, so you're supposed to be able to build 2 complete aircraft, there is one set of complete wings down here. We'll take a look at that in a minute. But this set is obviously for the folded option. So if you choose to build both of your kits with the wings out, I could see a bit of a problem because I'm also only seeing one set of folded spars and one set of folded control surfaces. So we'll take a look at that in a minute, but that's something to think about there. I haven't really looked into it, but that just happened to occur to me right now. So that's spruc, get that out of the way. Next, we have sprue D. This is one of the, I guess, the wing sort of detail up sprues, if we can call it that. So here's some more control surfaces. Again, they're in halves. I guess these, because they're kind of a complex shape, maybe, they couldn't have molded them as one piece. These are the gun bays down here. Again, nice to see no ejector pin marks in there. Exhausts do have a pretty nice hollow molded end. So that is nice. It's not a solid piece, so you don't have to drill it out. And then these are the ammo belts. The backs of the machine guns, honestly, are not super detailed. The discerning modeler will probably want to replace those with 3D print or resin. I'm sure Edward or somebody else will be doing replacements. This is nice to see. It's a single piece wing spar that will keep everything stiff. Hopefully there's a little bit of detail on that. I think this is where it crosses in the wheel bay. That's nice to see. There are some ejector pin marks up here and on the sides. Not sure how visible those will be as they're in a vertical orientation in a very small space, but just a heads up there. More control surfaces right there. Yeah, that's sprue D. Next, we have sprue E, and this is actually something that I wanted to point out that I noticed immediately in the instructions. This piece right here is for the folded option. So I don't build a lot of aircraft folded up, even jet aircraft. I leave everything open. I just like the way they look that way. But if you were to do aircraft that were folded up, it can be a kind of a pain to get the orientation of the folded part of the wings correct, because it's usually depending on one little tiny hinge point and usually one small, very, very sort of risky little brace that holds everything together. This is very nice. Theoretically, I think you can keep the outer wings even loose and just sort of slot them on when you want to display it and take them off when you want to move the model around or for painting or for whatever, and not stress this joint. But this is nice. That's really a nice addition to see. It'd be nice if other manufacturers that do aircraft with folded wings start to do something like this. There are a bunch of ejector pin marks on the outside here. Those really won't matter. Again, the ones that go through the wheel bay, though, on this side where there's a lot of detail, there's nothing. But on the back side here, there is a few. So hopefully that's on a side that's not super visible. Then you have more of this. This is the sort of the end plate between the two wings that the hinge mechanism will go through. So there's that. some other little braces, hoses, connectors, and such that I have no idea what they do. But yeah, that's sprue E. Sprue F is for, obviously, the wings unfolded option right now. So obviously you have the single piece bottom wing plate, and you get the 2 upper wings like that. And then again, this is the exact same part, just in 1 piece rather than 3 of the ones that we just looked at previously. Same molded raised detail on the bottom, recessed and raised. Obviously you get this as 1 piece. Everything is nice. The inside ejector pin marks, you wouldn't worry about that. Lots of locating points, which is nice. Upper side again is the same. Again, if you're going to have these open, great, but hoping that if you do want to close them, the fit of those panels is not horrifying. So yeah, that's sprue F. Next we have sprue G. You do get 2 of these. We'll take a look at one. So sprue G is obviously for the cowl flaps, the sort of where the propeller mounts or where the engine mounts, the firewall, some of the cockpit pieces going down in here, the propeller, the bomb, and the fuel tank. And then if we take a look at some of these cockpit pieces, this is actually kind of interesting to see. They give you one that has molded raised detail on it and one that's blank. So it could be that Magic Factory is thinking ahead here with the advent of 3D printed cockpits and such from Quinta, Red Fox, etc., from the company that Reskit owns. I forget what it's called, it starts with a K. But having a blank instrument panel or blank cockpit piece so you don't have to do all the sanding to remove everything. So that's nice, thinking ahead if that's what that's for. And then obviously the propeller hub right there. Other than that, nothing else terribly interesting with that. So that's sprue G. Next we move to sprue H, which is some of, I guess, the version specific. This is the instrument panel. Again, they include a blank, so I'm guessing this is for a 3D printed cockpit right there. This is some of the detail parts that go on the side of the fuselage, I think. Everything. This is the combing for the instrument panel, I believe. Some nice raised rivets there. Yeah, very nice. Next we have sprue I, which is the clear parts, I suspect, for that version to kind of keep everything together. Everything is cleanly molded. I like that Magic Factory has included the part of the fuselage with the glass. So at least you're not filling around this complex curve right here and trying not to hit the glass and preventing an issue there. It is pretty close on the front, but I think you'll be okay. The greenhouse portion of it does have a little bit of waviness at the top, but these straight sort of panes on the side are super clear, as is everything else. These little scallop windows, super clear right there. No issues to talk about. Next we have sprue J, which is the other version of the clear parts. This is for the, I think it's called the bubble top. Again, the flat pieces, super clear, no issues there. Again, including part of the fuselage to make ease of assembly and filling. You're not going to worry about that. This bubble top piece has a little bit of wave on the top, but the flat parts are totally fine. You can use your pre-cut mask set with that. That's sprue J. K is the other instrument panel, again with a blank. So if you do want to use a 3D printed cockpit, no need to sand all this stuff off, just use that one. And then the specific combing for that version, there is raised detail on that, very sharply done. Then we have sprue L and sprue M. So L is control surfaces, I believe. Again, top and bottom halves. Not ideal, but is what it is. Sprue M looks like some additional cockpit pieces. Again, there's a blank there. Should you use, I guess it's for a soon to be coming 3D printed cockpit, but that's really nice to see actually. It's nice, and you don't have to do a lot of sanding to remove all this detail here. Just use that piece. But yeah, everything else, a little bit detail on the back where the seat mounts, pedals. There's actually not a lot of mold seam on these two, which is really nice to see. So that's sprue M. And then the two remaining pieces are these cowls. You do get two aircraft, obviously dual combo. They are molded as a single piece. little bit of raised sort of stiffener detail there, and then everything else is fine. There's not even really much of a mold seam on this that I can find. So yeah, this is really nice. Normally you might have to piece this together from 3 pieces and have it all line up and such. Single piece, easy, just glue it on. So yeah, I'm gonna clean up everything here and I'll be right back to wrap this up.